Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm going to unbox the new Beatles mono box set. This is the 1964 American mono box set. Everything really pertaining to the Beatles in 1964 in America. We've got 6 albums in total, and I'll unbox them and show you guys all of them. We've got Meet the Beatles' second album, A Hard Day's Night, the soundtrack, something new, The Beatles Story, which is exclusive to this box, and the other 6 can be bought individually, but if you want the Beatles Story, which was really not really music per se, it's more like an interview disc, you have to get the box. The Beatles 65 and the early Beatles. These were all, and I've talked about this in a previous video, the original American releases are pretty controversial because of Dave Dexter's involvement in them. He did really bizarre things to the mix and the mastering decisions that went into the original versions of these albums. Now, this newest box set was done by Kevin Reeves at Universal's dedicated mastering facility in Nashville. Kevin is a Universal employee, I believe, and he is doing the mastering for this box set. Haven't had a chance to listen to it because it's still sealed on this desk. But a lot of people made comments like, hey, why didn't Kevin do this? Why didn't Bernie do this? Why didn't so-and-so do this? These have kind of, in the audiophile community, been somewhat of a pariah because of the weird Dave Dexterization of these records. But a lot of people, on the other hand, are also like, this is the Beatles to them because this is all they knew for 10, 20 years, you know, unless you were making trips back and forth from England, this is what you would have been exposed to. So I don't know if they could have got some of those top tier mastering engineers, for instance, to put their name on this. I don't know if they would have wanted to. I'm just speculating and guessing, but I don't know. But on a side note, there's a huge problem with this box set, and I've got some awful news. I don't have my razor blade, so we gotta bust out my steak knife. So I will tell you guys about the awful news in 1 second. Let me just get this shrink nicely opened. So the awful news. It's the Beatles. You assume there was going to be a gazillion of these things made. Beatles for days. That's not the case. This box set was heavily allocated, and I'll tell you heavily allocated. I'll give you the exact number. My order was cut by 97%. Now, this isn't an item that I ordered thousands of, so an order cut by 97% pretty much left none of these available. So, on a side note, if you pre-ordered this from me, or if you pre-ordered this from a lot of places, you're probably not going to get it. If you pre-ordered it from me, I've got a couple of options. I can switch you to the individual albums, which I'll show you here in a minute. I can refund your money. I can give you store credit. I'm assuming a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just take the 6 individual albums, maybe take the balance as store credit and or a refund. But you can either email the store or we'll email you shortly. But that's the bad news. Don't shoot me. I didn't make it. I just sell it. But yeah, this is going to be significantly rarer than anybody envisioned. There's just no doubt about it. These things are going to be tough. The box set, the individual titles, there has been no allocation of. So when I found out that the box set was not coming, I went ahead and ordered a bunch more of the individual titles just because I knew a lot of people were just going to make the swap. In a way, it's somewhat of a favor now that I look at this because this box set costs $130 more than the individual titles, and the only thing you got for that extra $130 is this. You got this part of the red box, you got this part of the red box, and you got this album here. Is that worth $130? I don't know, but this is going to be quite the collectible, I'm sure. Okay, so let's crack this thing open. Now, I'm curious of how these are going to sound, and I'll talk about that in a future video, maybe even my new arrival video that I post, because I'm going to go back to the shop after I get done doing the unboxing, and I'm going to do a little quick listen, and maybe I can talk about that a little bit on tomorrow's new arrival video. But, yeah, let's show you guys the individual albums. they're not tip-on jackets. They're direct printed to board. So this isn't like Stoughton Tome Poet level of quality, but it's not bad. So here's the Beatles story, which this and the two pieces of the box cost an extra $130, which is pretty egregious if you ask me. That is an obnoxious amount of money for the Beatles story. Because this is really just a tchotchke at this point. People are going to want it and collect it, but this was made at a time to capitalize on the Beatles' popularity when things like the internet didn't exist, and you couldn't just readily get information on these guys. If you wanted to know about the Beatles, there was magazines, fan magazines, but this was still, you know, early 1964, early for the Beatles in America. So this was Capitol's way of making money by giving you essentially like an audio presentation of the Beatles and kind of some factoids. But the actual albums, really nice laminate, or it's a gloss. It's not. It's, you know, it's a gloss style cover. So really well done. It's direct to board, so it's not like the original tip-on jackets were back in the day. But yeah, here is Meet the Beatles, the first Capitol Beatles record. Bruce Spicer was heavily involved in this, from what I heard. You know, my sources, and I heard he was even involved in the final audio QC of this. Bruce Spicer kind of wrote, not the Beatles book, but the Beatles books. He has Beatles books dedicated to the Beatles on Capitol, you know, every aspect of the Beatles and Beatles record collecting. So there we got the original master tape as a book. Kind of cool. Ooh. And polyline sleeve, which is nice. Got the swirl label. So this was made at MPO. So unfortunately, there's a big giant splotch of no-fill on this particular record. This is not the cleanest record I've ever seen, to be honest, for a record that is put in a polyline sleeve. Yeah. If you purchase this via the ultrasonic cleaning, of course this is going to be rejected, because this doesn't look wonderful, if I'm being honest. Comes with the original inner, like a printed inner, which is nice. Wonder if that can kind of fit in there. No. Okay. So let's get to the rest. MPO, not the place I would have liked to seen this made, I'll tell you. Okay, we've got the Beatles' second album. Same thing. This is kind of... got a picture of the master tape with the post-it note. A little bit of information on the album. Audio Master Lacquer's Cut by Kevin Reeves. Same thing with the sleeve. Now this record looks good. Good. Thinking to myself, oh God. I'm already going to have holy hell to deal with when it comes to all the people that pre-order this thing that aren't going to get the box set. The last thing I need is all the other people having issues with the actual records themselves. Okay. Mastering notes, little essay. Yeah, the essay should be quite good. Reproduced the United Artists sleeve. United Artists back in the 60s, I believe, was a standalone company. I think Universal absorbed United Artists somewhere along the lines when it came to all of the label cut consolidation that happened years back. This looks good. Nice. Yeah, the sleeves are nice. It's kind of hard to describe what you're looking at here. This is better than a generic sleeve, not as nice as a Tome Poet. It's like For a direct-to-board, you know, where they print directly on the board. This is the same type of design, by the way, they used in like the late 70s for the Beatles in the 80s when they moved on from the tip-on jacket. But for a direct-to-board, this is about as nice as you're probably going to find. You know, it's got a nice gloss. The artwork looks nice. There is no plant number on the RIAA, you know, for you old school Beatle collectors. Check out that. Now we've got, yeah, it's nice because they included the appropriate sleeve, because these capital inner sleeves changed throughout the years. Colors changed, and then the albums that were on them changed. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. The records themselves, they're not defective. Like, this one isn't defective. The first one's no fill. That's going to be an issue. But it has kind of enough marks on this that I would almost assume it was stored in a paper sleeve, but it's not. Nothing that would be audible, but not something you typically would get from a poly-lined sleeve. You know, a record that was shipped in a poly-lined sleeve. Beatles 65. But, you know, if you're looking for these type of capital reissues, or you want to relive your childhood with these original U.S. presentations of these records, these are probably going to be about the best available option. I can't see there being anything throughout the 70s and 80s that would be of this level of quality. As you can see, we've changed the color of the sleeve again. Like, I don't know if you could see that on the camera. Look how much dirt is on this record. And I mean, it's nothing that the ultrasonic isn't going to clean. Like, there's a big fuzzball there. Like someone's cat sat on it. I mean, the record actually underneath all that looks good. But yeah, like I said, it's not something you would typically associate with a polyline sleeve. Yeah. And last, this Beatles 65, we've got the early Beatles. I know everybody's like, why didn't they just do the mono box, the mono box? You know, everybody wants that original mono box from 2014. Oh, Lord. The level of dirt is quite unbelievable. I don't know if you could see that. It will clean off. And I might be being a little picky, but I have an ultrasonic cleaner. If I didn't have the way to ultrasonic clean these, I'd be a little bit perturbed because I'd be having to scrub these records. Okay. Sleeve changed again. Nice. We'll see. It's gonna, this album was cut. Mastering notes. This vinyl was cut for vinyl from the original master tapes using a completely analog signal path with a constant reference to the first generation pressings of the original albums. It was made using a Studer A80 master recorder with an analog preview, so it's all analog, and program paths, and a Neumann VMS 70 cutting lathe, originally installed at Capitol Studios in 1971. This specific all-analog cutting technique allows faithful representation of the full musical range and dynamics pressing on the original tapes. And I think, from what I've learned subsequently after this was announced, is they're using the original master tapes, but the original master tapes back in the day were kind of held back. Dave Dexter's original tapes were kind of even further compromised, bass restricted, that kind of thing, in order to kind of keep these records playable on the most amount of kiddie record players of the day. And from what I heard, they are going to kind of open it up. So it's going to be the best available presentation of what is available on that tape. I don't know. That's the pitch. I'll know in an hour. But there it is. I apologize for all of you people that wanted the box set. But It happens. It's really bizarre that Universal felt that X amount of money was plenty and they could just sacrifice the rest. But it turns out this was made a limited edition, which was a mistake. But it is what it is. Check us out online at theingroove.com. Until next time.